Hello and Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'm very grateful GSD to give me this opportunity. You probably don't know me yet. I am Stefan Tischer, landscape architect, and I'm very pleased and excited to work with you, proposing a studio in an area which I have concentrated some of my research and teaching for many years. In this option studio, we will try to understand how the infrastructures for so-called sustainable energy production, storage and transport can be transformed into landscape and architectonical projects, and above all, how to create better synergies between them and the surrounding landscapes, including settlements, rural and natural systems, and the daily life of the concerned communities. Before I talk through what we can do together, I thought I would take a few minutes to introduce myself and share with you my top 3 professional interests. One of my main professional concerns has been the synergy of academia and landscape architecture practice. After my studies at Technical University in Munich and École Nationale Supérieure de Paysage in Versailles, I practiced as an active landscape architect, mostly working on master planning and interdisciplinary collaboration. Across my career, I have worked on the master plans of academic centers and campus. In some, I had the chance to follow up a project from the initial concept up to the realization of outdoor spaces and green roofs and facades of buildings. Some other projects remained conceptual, but what I find most important is that they, however, created a basis to ensure landscape quality for cities. More recently, and in collaboration with Alex Wall, who also teaches at GSD in the Landscape Architecture Department, and some other partners, we developed a long-term visionary study for the fringe of the city of Berlin and the transition into surrounding Brandenburg, proposing the concept of a metropolitan ecotone as light built for the next 50 years. A second important field of my work is exploring the memory and historical dimension of a site. One of my most important realized designs was the transformation of the site of the former woman concentration camp from the Nazi camp in Ravensbrück, where I collaborated with architect Philipp Oswald and historian Dr. Stephanie Oswald. Finally, another significant aspect of my work is the creation of experimental and ephemeral gardens and installations. This gives me the opportunity to test new design concepts and also to help to act directly and quickly on sites which have been forgotten or blocked by political planning contradictions. So I created landworks in the island of Sardinia, where I currently hold the chair of landscape architecture at the local university. There we experienced since over 10 years on former mining sites with temporary landscape installations, and now develop a concept of curated urbanism without need of somehow obsolete master plans. Besides my focus on research-oriented professional practice, I have also been lucky to share these experiences with students and colleagues in the academic field in several academic places, such as University of Montreal, École Nationale Supérieure de Paysage in Versailles, Università di Sassari, and others. So, what topics can I offer you for my open studio? Energies are and have been constantly changing landscapes. But it's the first time where the dream of a life without exploiting fossil sources and irreversibly exploiting our geological grounds seem to change from a vision to reality. Faster than we would have ever thought, we are experiencing sustainable forms of energy production, storage, distribution and transport, dominating and profoundly transforming all forms of our landscapes, urban, peri-urban, rural, productive, abandoned or not, and even natural, cultural and classified landmarks. But in this rapid transformation, conflicts are of course inevitable. Nature conservation and monument protection rebel critically alongside these issues, so we are also grappling with the emergence of the new power plants developed, apparently far away in the deserts of Arizona, southern Spain, Morocco, the Emirates, China and India. For me, the question is whether and how we should use these opportunities Do we work on such projects only for the benefit of lucky shareholders and international investors and keep going on with models of profit maximization? And/or should the new infrastructures give back to the local communities not only economic cramps and some secure jobs, but also support them to sustainably transform the territorial structures and figure as catalysts for natural restoration, new rural life and urban forms of food production and settlements? And as we consider, of course, engineering and technological aspects, should we not also consider how monofunctional square miles of panels, mirrors and CSP elements might be arranged in alternative ways with more consideration of landscape structures, typography, hydrology, potential natural vegetation, maybe in mixed use of agriculture, settlements, service for communities? What kind of landscape synergies can we imagine for the energy infrastructures of production, transport and storage? Who will design them? How will we design them? After facing these questions in an initial phase of the studio in class, we will deepen these questions on a study site in Morocco, a country where we find an important tradition of the Islamic culture that had brought for centuries innovative impact of technology and knowledge to the Western societies like windmills, agricultural irrigation techniques, but also organization of trade and exchange. On our study side in Ouarzazate, we will see a typical mega infrastructure of solar energy production in the pre-Saharan desert implanted in a fragile landscape in the plains south of the Atlas, where since centuries Berber tribes established a specific way of life in creating fertile artificial oases, agricultural patterns, and the iconic Kasbah architecture in fortified villages. As you might know, Noor 1, 2 and 3 were for several years the world's largest solar power plant. The particular interest of this plant is that all three most significant technologies can be found there: classical photovoltaic panels, linear CPC compound parabolic concentrator, and punctual CSP concentrated solar power. We will visit the power plant and try to understand the opportunities but also the threats for the local and regional natural system, the surrounding territories and their communities. As we will see, the entire region suffers from lack of water in general, but particularly in the last years of drought. Climate change has increased the situation up to a point that scientific research considered the entire area will be uninhabitable in the close future. Therefore, large artificial lakes in the middle of the desert, with the objective to provide enough water for almost daily cleaning of the tens of thousands of mirrors and panels of the power plant, seem a very obsolete Fata Morgana. In the close-by artificial oasis of Skura, where we will have our work camp, we will understand how the water management of the Berber communities worked quite perfectly with a system of ketaras and seguillas. Understanding these traditional techniques on whom for centuries life was based is an essential point of the studio, as they might inspire the design proposals of your projects. We will also visit Marrakesh, where we will explore with local experts the general culture context with a specific interest in traditional building typologies and techniques, the relationship between landscape and settlement, and the role of water. We will also look at the role of carefully designed and sophisticatedly maintained gardens as a historic topic of heritage, but also as a potential for contemporary development. After crossing the Atlas Mountains, the study trip will allow us to focus on the surrounding landscapes of the Noor solar power plant and meet the concerned Berber communities. The work with them and the elaboration of design project solutions for them is also an essential interest of the Aga Khan Foundation, who generously contributes in the funding of this studio. What kind of creative design approach had already been done in these landscapes? Similar to the land art interventions in the American desert, since the 1980s, German artist Hans-Jörg Voth realized in the close-by Maha plain some iconic projects who deal with the experience of the space and they reinterpret tradition typologies like Caspars and techniques of adobe construction. The study of these projects will help us to find a contemporary approach for landscape and architectonical design, going beyond ecological, technical and social concepts, but dealing with the harsh poetic and the profound dimension of these sites. We will also consider the impact of solar energy production has been since the beginning an ephemeral field of experimentation for the arts and for design. Solar kinetic art has inspired artists and designers like Charles and Ray Eames, until recent experimentations at the events of Burning Man with a fly ranch promoted by Lagi, the land art generator. Agricultural patterns may go beyond the only two alternatives, traditional with guitarras and seguillas versus contemporary agricultural engineering with artificial lakes, drop-by-drop irrigation and pumping aquifer water from wells. Visionary territorial systems like Andrea Branzi's Agronica might help us to propose solutions, as well as the recent tendency of agrovoltaic by combining agricultural and solar farming. The outcome of the studio should definitely address needs of the local communities, but should consider both scales, proposals for dealing with the larger territorial systems and finding design solutions for the local context. The precise definition of elaborates will be defined during the studio individually for each student. Organization of the studio will have 3 phases. First, as a group, we will prepare all kind of data from mapping the various aspects of the site in Morocco up to critically collecting knowledge about the natural and cultural context, infrastructural aspects of the solar energy production, storage and transport. Secondly, the study trip will give us an essential opportunity to verify and deepen our mappings and preparatory research, experience the landscapes and exchange with the local experts and the concerned communities. Finally, in classical studio design development, we elaborate proposals in the 2 scales of the discussed topics. I am looking forward to undertaking this challenge together with you, this field trip to Morocco, and touching a field of design debate, what I believe is already and will be even more essential for us as landscape architects and planners. As an instructor, I will be with you at GSD and during the study trip all the time, except the 2 weeks after the midterm break, where we will organize our studio meetings online. Throughout the trip in the studio, we will have various guest experts who will give you information in short lectures and who will be available for your questions and for discussion. I thank GSD and in particular Professor Hildebrand for his confidence and the interest in an option studio proposal, and to the Aga Khan funds to enable the study trip and the work with the local community. Thank you, and see you end of the month in Cambridge.